You ever get the idea maybe everyone has to take a chill pill here? A state Democratic lawmaker in Maine apologizing after posting a very threatening message about President Trump on Facebook. Scott Hammond originally saying Trump is a half-term president at most, especially if I ever get within 10 feet of, no, I can't quite read that last word. I'll let you try to figure it out. Are all the threats and impeachment talk going on going to backfire on Democrats? Now, we should stress these kind of things are the exception, hardly the rule. But there has been a pattern of at least a couple of congressmen saying, all right, impeach the guy now, let's get hopping. And others saying that, it's close to treason or is treasonous what he's doing or his son's doing. So you know the drill. Are these guys drilling too far? All right, Washington Examiner Sarah Westwood, former Hillary Clinton team member Adrienne Elrod, and Independent Women's Forum's Hadley Heath Manning. Hadley, what do you think?
Oh, man, we got to be careful with how the public is perceiving some of this stuff, right? Because we talk a lot about civility and about taking the right tone when it comes to politics. But obviously, any threat of violence is inappropriate. And I think people left, right, and center would condemn that. But there are additional forms of protest that researchers at the University of Toronto have found can actually be counterproductive. When you block traffic, when you riot in the street, you can actually decrease support for your social movement. So I think people who are part of the resistance movement should pay attention to that. People.
It does scare people. But, Adrienne, I know you don't support this type of talk or any of that, but it does feed a narrative here that Democrats, some, not all by any means, are getting a little too zealous and a little too presumptive that they think that this is something that's going to happen. And furthermore, that they're looking like opportunists. What do you think?
Well, look, first of all, violence should not be supported on either side. That includes Donald Trump's rallies where there's been a lot of violence. That also includes this lawmaker in Maine making really inappropriate comments. But look, to your point about impeachment, most Democrats have withheld from doing anything or saying anything on this, even though, of course, Brad Sherman just filed an article impeachment in the Congress because they want to wait for more facts to come in. But what we learned this week is perhaps the most startling piece of evidence yet, that there was intent to collude with Russia from the Trump campaign, from Donald Trump Jr.'s meeting with the Russian attorney. And the question
that's a big leap to say there was an attempt to collude with Russia, the Russian government, right?
Well,
you're doing the very thing that a lot of people say you got to hold back on, right?
Russian emissaries, and that's exactly why Bob Mueller, his investigation is going to unveil a lot.
Let Bob allude.
And then we'll see what Congress decides to do with that information.
All right, fair. Sarah, what do you think?
Well, look, I think Democrats do risk putting themselves in a boy who cried wolf situation with this overwrought criticism to every little thing that comes out of the Trump White House. It really erodes their credibility to criticize the legitimate problems with the Trump administration. That's what you've seen with these Donald Trump Jr. emails. There's no spinning it. Looks bad for the White House, but Democrats have alluded to treason. They've cried impeachment. They've embraced these pop culture images of violence in some cases, or at least failed to denounce them. And so when a legitimately questionable situation arises out of this White House, Democrats, voters are starting to tune out their criticism of Trump.
No, I guess what I thought, and it's odd the timing of this today, when we got news that Congressman Scalise underwent yet another surgery to treat an infection. We heard from his family he's doing okay in fair condition. He keeps going through this stuff. I mean, timing is awkward, and we thought that after that shooting, that this sort of stuff would die down a little bit on both sides, and it really hasn't. And I'm worried about that, because when you have people escalating this talk on social media, and I know how that goes, it can easily get out of control again, right?
That's right, and we have to be careful not to say, well, because one side does it, that's permission for the other side to do it, right? Instead of going low together, we should all try to go high together, and this is a criticism of both sides. But we also have to ask with timing. The Senate's released a new health care bill today, and the public perception from some of the resistance and some of these impeachment efforts, as long as Democrats are focused on, waiting for the facts to come out, as my counterpart said, and good governance, keeping our government accountable, that's one thing, but you want to be careful if you're the Democratic Party, not looking like this is yet another effort simply to obstruct an agenda that you disagree with, because health reform and tax reform, those are things that people want to see action on.
It's few rather than many, but I will say, Adrienne, that is there a fear that you get from some of your colleagues that it's this agenda that worries you when it's all Republicans putting it together, and even they're fighting among themselves? What is wrong, if you want to be a political cynic? Let these guys implode among themselves. Don't help it.
Well, you know, first of all, Democrats are certainly not going to come to the table and help Republicans repeal Obamacare. That is something that we absolutely are not going to do.
Because all the measures that Republicans have come up with don't repeal it. It keeps it quite a big government.
But we're
program.
happy if we can actually come to the table and agree in a bipartisan way to lower the astronomical costs of health care that are growing, and then that's a problem that both sides and many Americans agree needs to be lowered. We'll do that.
I mean, this is much friendlier than
but we're
you
not
thought
going
it
to
would
repeal.
be. Right? This is much friendlier than you thought it would be. They're not repealing it. They're not. It's still a huge government program. They're throwing more money at this than anyone can count.
Yeah,
so it's hardly. You have a perfect reason, opportunity to help, right?
Look, again, we will see what actually happens. I mean, they're having struggles just actually bringing this bill to the floor for consideration, which we'll see if Mitch McConnell is able to do that. I certainly never think that Mitch McConnell should be counted out.
It's basically a Democratic program light. I do think that Rand Paul got that right. It's kind of Obamacare light. It's not too far from that.
Well, again, we'll see how things shake out. I mean, as a woman, I want to see Planned Parenthood protected. I want to see to make sure that women's health does not decline under this bill. You see moderate senators like Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, who are 1,000% behind what I just said. But look, we'll see how things shake out. When it comes back to the civil discourse, I think, again, we need to agree that both sides, Democrats and Republicans, certainly are guilty in terms of...
They are. But, Sarah, you're optimistic that can this pass, or will it just heat up the more investigations mount and accusations fly back and forth?
That certainly doesn't help the bill's chances of passage. Republicans are feeling the pressure from all sides. They're feeling pressure from constituents not to pass a bill that is deeply unpopular. Right. They're feeling pressure, with the White House's misstep. So it certainly puts it in peril.
All right, guys, thank you all very, very much.